Okay, how about now? Hopefully that's good. Man, getting here today was an insurmountable task. So the island is having extreme high winds, in and out with the internet, in and out with the power, in fact. So if I all of a sudden drop out, unfortunately, we will need to drop the live stream at that time. So it might be a very short one here. We're pretty much gambling in terms of how long the power will stay on, how long the internet will stay on. So yeah, but I wanted to get here for you all today, and I'm very happy to see all of you here in the chat. So let me go ahead and go through the chat, greet everyone, and of course, let me know if you have any questions, anything you want to cover here today. Let me just double check, make sure everything looks good. I think it does. All right, so Violence is Life. Great to see you. You're new here. Haven't seen your name here before, but thanks for joining. Erica Alexandria, great to see you as always. Erica says, hello and good afternoon, cosmic folks. Mercury Direct, still awaiting one more answer to begin working from home, continuing my esoteric studies, and resume fine arts via drawing and some paintings. Well, I hope so too, Erica. Hope you do hear back. Mercury is literally paused right now, I believe. Completely paused right now in the sky. So maybe that's explaining some of my technical difficulties. Literally just had to pause. I actually had a client, I was in the middle of a session with a client who would do so. Let me go ahead and fast forward here to the sky. So this is what we're looking at right now. We have the sun in a fucus. The sun is going to pass over the galactic center here early here this week, Tuesday, Wednesday time period, I believe. So that's, the time of the year of transformation, the death and rebirth of the solar year, really, if you will. And yeah, so still in that deeper world though, with the sun in a fucus and now Mercury direct in deep Scorpio. Aquarius Sky Clock, great to see you. Evening from England. Taz, a happy full moon, everyone. Yep, also in that full moon as well. And I think that's just passed, if I'm not mistaken. But we are certainly in that full moon right now. Just passes in just a few hours, if that. Karmic Kerfuffle, great to see you here. Hello, everyone. I'm feeling awfully exhausted today dealing with chronic health issues, and I think I've been overdoing it lately, so my body is now demanding a rest. Yeah, and I will say that I think we would all experience that on our own levels as well, because I'm experiencing that. The full moon is squaring up to Neptune. Neptune is the planet of rest, of peace, of mental health, spiritual health, and the square has... the square does make that into a clash. Well, the square makes it so that it's very important that we actually implement this stuff constructively. So setting the intention for rest like you're doing there, Karmic Kerfuffle. Setting the intention to connect more with our soul. We can feel that pendulum swing most certainly between exhaustion on one extreme and then maybe getting, another perhaps into a lot of ideals and stuff. But we do want to ground it constructively. So a great day for intentionally resting, intentionally connecting with our soul, intentionally working on mental health, spiritual health, maybe intentionally just going with the flow as best as we can, which I'm really speaking to myself there with that one. Hey, Taz. Let's see. Okay, thank you for sharing. April, great to see you. Greetings and peace to all, says April. All right, and looks like we're all good here. Danielle, great for joining. Hello, everyone. First time on chat. Great to have you. Everyone give a shout out to Daniela. So gift wrapped, great to see you. Margaret, of course, as always. Margaret, the moderator, the digital PR specialist for Mastering the Zodiac. For those of you in Instagram, probably know Margaret very well. But yeah, of course, great to have you, Margaret. Gift wrapped, hi Athen, toe is healing. I can walk easier. Tree is up and making cookie ingredients and a shopping list. All right, gift wrapped. That is the first time. Thanks for joining. So I'm feeling lucky. Great to have you. I'm feeling lucky, says Athen. I would love to work on a personalized weekly sidereal report forecast engine whereby the community could subscribe to a service from you where they receive a personalized sidereal forecast. Yeah, if you send me an email, I'll definitely take a look. Anything that adds value to the community, I am all for. So let me know. That definitely sounds like something interesting. So Violence is Live says, I can't sleep during a full moon. I will say I did have some sleeping difficulties last night. I'll have to start paying attention to see if it's, what phase of the lunar cycle that's often in. But I will say I didn't sleep very well last night. So Taz says, Mars retrograde is transiting opposite my natal Pallas Athene. So a good time to connect there with your warrior goddess, let's say, as we all have that archetype within us, but in the reflective process. Xena, cosmic greetings. Nice hearing your forecast just a few minutes ago. Makes more sense why my energy is generally low, slow, quiet, and my thoughts are deeper, darker. Yeah, that would definitely be the Scorpio and Ophiuchus energy, I would say. Energy should be heightened right now in the full moon, but of course having all this water energy and really just yin energy. We have Ophiuchus, we have Scorpio, we have Venus in Capricorn, which is another yin energy. So yin is more internal, more receptive. And Mars in Cancer, of course, Cancer very yin. Margaret says, definitely feel that nice Taurus grounding with the moon when working on a lot of embodiment practices lately. Awesome, great to hear. Great to do that deeper stuff with that Ophiuchus, because we have the sun in Ophiuchus, which is that deeper world. We have the full moon in Taurus, which is grounding all that. And so anything that does find that balance between that deeper yet grounding dimension is great. So Xena says, besides the aspects, can you talk about the significance of a full moon and it being in Taurus? Right, so full moon is, like I said, the highest energy of the cycle, but most importantly is it's the halfway point of the lunar month. It's not a new beginning like the new moon would be, but it is definitely a pivot. So this is usually the time of the month where we will shift direction. So the analogy I really like here is that the car is already at full speed. The car has gained momentum since the new moon, which was 2 weeks ago, up to the full moon, which is now, which is the building of energy, building of momentum. But once we come to this halfway point, we do a status check. We realize some things are working in our life or in the month, some things are not. We become aware of maybe what needs to be shifted and changed along our life journey, and then we do so. And of course, it's great to do this intentionally, but just fundamentally having awareness right now. So there's a lot of external awareness. That's why there's usually more of a focus on the outer world, focus on our lives, focus on our really big picture, goals or ambitions or whatever it is that we're wanting, the bigger picture stuff that we're doing. But from that awareness, we need to make those pivots. So the days surrounding the full moon, not so much internal reflection, but what I would say is external reflection. Literally, if you can, write this stuff down, be aware, look at your external life and say, okay, what are the pivots that you want to make for really the next 2 weeks, which would then close out the lunar cycle, as a lot of what we pivot towards now is for the next 2 weeks. But even for the solar year, of course, because exactly 6 months ago, we had the new moon in Taurus, which is where we planted the seeds of Taurus, and now marks the halfway point of the year of Taurus, right? So now also, if you want to do it yearly, you could say, okay, how has the Taurus qualities been going the past 6 months? So Taurus is specifically, I would say, about, yes, grounding, connecting to our inner resources fundamentally. So self-worth, self-value, resourcefulness, self-reliance, our natural talents, our natural abilities. This would be the internal grounding, this inner resource. The external, then, we could do things like connect more with nature, that kind of grounding, connect more with the sensual life. So get into more of things like food or nutrition or enjoyments there, aromatherapies, the sensual life, the external world in that sense. So Taurus, the bull, is all about that material world or physical world in the sense of really there's the ground, the earthy qualities of that, you know. So grounding both within and externally is what Taurus is about. So asking yourself, how has that been the past 6 months? Especially if you have prominent Taurus in your chart. Like for me, I have my Taurus is rising. So this is going to be in my first house. So 6 months ago, set off on a new path in regards to implementing more resourcefulness, groundedness, and my own identity. First house for me is identity, my goals, my ambitions, but really wherever is Taurus is for you, and you can always check that out. Margaret, if you could post a link to that chart calculator, see where is it happening exactly? I think it's towards the later part of Taurus, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's the later part of Taurus. So look for where the end of this sort of brown constellation is this orange constellation in your chart. So it's going to be somewhere different for everybody. And depending on what house it's in, like in this particular example, the end of Taurus is in the 4th house. Look for the number of the house that it's in, and that's going to tell you very much what this full moon is about. Cultivate some more of that. How are your, fundamentally your self-reliance, your self-worth, self-value. How's your inner groundedness, inner resources? This is also really good to ask. So both in the term 6 months process, what can we make some pivots with in order to reincorporate some of that inner and outer resources? So going through the 12 zodiac, 12 houses here. First house, if it's in your first house, it's about identity. If it's in your second house, it's probably quite literally about money or resources. Again, we're talking about the end of Taurus, wherever the end of Taurus is for you in your natal chart. If it's your third house, this is involving communication. If it's your fourth house, it's probably your personal life or home. If it's your fifth house, it's self-expression or matters of the heart. And sixth is about probably your work or routine. Seventh, relationships. 8, deeper relationships, but also the deeper world and healing as well. The 9th, your adventurousness and your philosophy on life. 10th, your achievements or career. Your 11th, contributions and your networks, like friends. And 12th, spirituality and peace. So that's just a quick rundown of the 12 there, just to give you a little bit of a personal reading, finding out where the end of Taurus is. I can tell you more specifically about the full moon, but yeah, it is fundamentally about now making a pivot with that resourcefulness. Thanks for the question. It's a very great, I really like those questions because it applies to everybody and it helps me, have something to talk about for you all. Have Bliss, great to see you. Happy you can make it as well. Machine, great to see you as well. All right. It's great to see familiar names. Machine asks, is the sun currently passing through the galactic center? Yes. Also, how many degrees in Ophiuchus does the galactic center span? So if you want to be very, very precise, the galactic center is 2 degrees at the end of Ophiuchus using this midpoint system. So as you can see right here, hopefully that's zoomed in enough for you. Actually, let me go ahead and just show you in the visible sky. So here's the visible sky. This is for today. We are definitely in the galactic center's energy. There's no doubt about it. It's where we have these huge cluster of stars in the sky, where you can see this, band, which looks like it's like the atmosphere or something. There's so many stars, but that's the middle of our galaxy. So if we place so much emphasis on the sun in astrology, which we do for good reason, we should also, because we revolve around the sun, we should also place equal, perhaps maybe even more emphasis on the galactic center, which is the center that us, along with the sun, all of us here in the solar system, orbit around. We all orbit. The whole galaxy is rotating around the galactic center. So it is the galactic sun, if you will. But it is a black hole, which has the analogy of transformation, right? Because black holes suck in energy, they draw in energy, and then shoot it out or transform it, and who even knows, maybe multiple dimensions, higher dimensions, in terms of where that energy goes. But the point here is when a planet passes over the galactic center like this, it really symbolizes the death and the rebirth of that planet's energy. So right now it's the sun, which symbolically represents our self-expression, It represents our vital life force. It really represents, again, that external view that we're talking so much about with the full moon, as that solar energy is bouncing off the moon. So that external yang consciousness, the death and rebirth. And this is really what we might say is the apex of a fucus, right? Because Scorpio gets deeper, right? Scorpio starts the deeper process. Then a fucus starts to work with and heal that deeper process. And then what happens when a fucus is done with it? A metaphoric death and a rebirth. Or you could say a redemption, a reintegrating, a reconnecting with the true, well, more of the true self. Or, going into the shadow world, into the deeper world, in order to redeem these hidden and lost qualities of ourself, in order to become more of a true self. So yeah, tomorrow is definitely going to be the deepest part of that. And it happens every year, of course, but it's, a lot of us are not aware of it. Most people, even those into astrology, don't even use the galactic center because they're using the seasons. But it's extremely important and such a spiritual time. And I would say, right now in a seasonal sense, it's just as important as the solstice. Again, arguably maybe more important than the solstice, as it being in many ways the beginning and ending of not the zodiac wheel, because we start that in Aries, but in this, what we would say probably spiritual development, spiritual growth part of the wheel. Because this is where we have the death before Sagittarius. And then once we get into about Thursday, the sun will start to get closer to Sagittarius, and that's going to get us feeling a much more free-spirited, much more open-minded. It's basically the butterfly emerging out of the cocoon where we've been here with all this Ophiuchus energy. Thanks for that question, Machine. Thanks for the chart calculator, Margaret. Right, so go by wherever the latter part of Taurus is. So, for example, gift wrapped, you said that Taurus is in your 7th and your 8th. So go by the 8th, because the full moon is at the latter part of Taurus. Unless Taurus is only a little tiny bit into your 8th. If there's a good chunk in your 8th, then I would go by the full moon being in your 8th. So that's, again, the deeper dimension. Karma Kerfuffle, I'm a Taurus sun, and the latter part of Taurus is in my 12th house. So yeah, this marks the sort of halfway point of your solar year. And in terms of this full moon, it's illuminating your spiritual house, the soul, really that Neptune energy we were talking about earlier. Well, Margaret says 5th house. Interesting, because I went to a fun event last night, so that makes sense. Awesome. Yeah, so it's a time of getting more into your fun, your self-expression. Great time to implement that even for the next 2 weeks or the next 6 months, depending on how you see it. Sev from the Wilderness, great to have you. Haven't seen your name before. Welcome. Question, hey Athen, which Ayanamsha is the most accurate as it relates to true sidereal? Well, this one, the midpoint system, is my very strong opinion. So we are using the actual size of the constellations here, and we're using the halfway points of the zodiac signs. So basically, where, for example, where we have Ophiuchus and Scorpio, both again dual sign. You can see the star of Ophiuchus here, the star of Scorpio here. We would draw a line across the ecliptic here. And then we have the first star of Sagittarius, and we would draw a line to the ecliptic there. And that halfway point is the boundary. That is the middle ground, the halfway point between those two constellations. So that's the midpoint method. But the Ayanamsa we're using would then be, of course, the midpoint between the last star of Pisces and the first star of Aries. And and so what that is right now is that's 2 degrees and 15 minutes before the star Sheraton. So you would have to use a software like Prometheus, like this software here, Prometheus, which is it allows you to use not only a custom Ayanamsa, but also the actual size of the constellations. You can see the constellations are all different sizes. So you need to put that in. You can see here, Sheraton, 2 degrees, and in this case, 45, because we're using an adjusted one for the current sky. But it would be 2 degrees, Aries 15 for birth charts. And that would be the halfway point between Aries and Pisces. If you're talking about mainstream sidereal, I would say Kanadas. Kanadas is probably the closest to what we're doing, but again, they're using an even 30 degrees for all of the signs. So if you had to choose one of those 30-degree systems, then I would definitely go by Kanatas. Hey Nina, could you explain the significance of the nodes real quick? Actually, I would love to get into detail with that maybe in the next live stream. The nodes are extremely important. If someone could remind me, maybe Margaret, if you could remind me next time, let's dive deep into the nodes in the next one. But real quick, basically your south node is what the Hindus call your past life or past patterns. Your north node is your future life, future patterns, basically future karma, or your dharma, which we could say is what you're here to develop. So the south node tends to be, so again, the past life stuff tends to be where we get sucked into, where we get stuck. Now it's good to retreat into it, but if we put a lot of attention on the south node, we tend to get stuck. So the south node needs to be things that we have in our life, we're a part of in our life. We have our roots in our south node, and we get a lot of gifts from that, but we're not focused on that in terms of yang. We want to put our yang energy on the north node. So while we're yin about the south node, immersed in that world, we want to put energy into the north node in the sense of intention, desire, drive, ego, right? Yin and yang. So yin on the south node, yang on the north node. For those that don't know, the nodes are the horseshoe looking things in the chart. You can see what houses those are, but we'll go into detail with that because it's a really good question, something that just takes some time to dissect. But that's just a quick rundown there, Nina. So Zena says, so the galactic center is essentially our sun's opposite point in the sky, where it's at its darkest, perhaps explaining why we can see so deep far in the sky. Well, yeah, so that's one way of thinking about the galactic center. So the sun and the galactic center are just completely independent. So the sun is going to be orbiting the whole zodiac, right? But we do only see the galactic center in the sky when the sun is opposite, okay, right? Because if wherever the sun is in the sky, we can't see that because it's daytime for that part of the sky. So typically in the summer, well, kind of in the autumn time, is where we can see the galactic center. So you could say that in a way, wherever that the sun's energy is kind of opposite the galactic centers in that. But right now, the sun is, right there in the center of the galactic center. And so here we have the we can't see it. So the sun is the one going through the transformation right now. The sun is the one going through that metamorphosis. But just to answer your question simply, the sun is completely separate and independent of the galactic center. It's just that us as a solar system are orbiting around the galactic center. That's all that really is. We would just say that maybe that Ophiuchus and galactic center is a very different energy from the sun. We might say that because the sun is Leo. But yeah, so 6 months ago would have been the perfect time to see the galactic center when the sun is in Taurus. Mind Mastery, Joanna, my wife, does the sun conjunct the galactic center, sun conjunction with the galactic center happen at the same day and time every year? For the most part, yeah. So for the most part, it is this time of the year. However, because of precession, which is the slow movement of the stars relative to the seasons, it's changing 1 degree every 72 years. That's very slow. 1 degree, there's 360 degrees in the sky. It only changes 1 degree every 72 years. So in our lifetime, yes, it's happening at the same time, same day, maybe not the exact same time because that's subtly changing, but generally speaking, the same day for us in our lifetime, okay? And what's very interesting is that because of precession, basically the spring equinox is getting closer to being where the galactic, so the excuse me, not spring, the winter solstice is getting closer to the galactic center. What that means is that in, let me see if I can show 72, the 72 times, where are we at, about 6 days, 72 times 6. So in about 400 years, which is beyond our lifetime, but in 400 years, the winter solstice will have the sun in the galactic center. So you can see it does change. It takes a very long time to change. But that's going to be, I think, a very significant time collectively for sure. Very, very spiritual, because then you're combining that solstice energy with the center of the galaxy. That's quite intense. You could even think of it that we're getting closer and closer and closer to that as each year passes. All right, so we'll go ahead and start concluding here. Ari Gold, great to see you. Great for you to join. So, speaking of Joanna, so Joanna's going to be doing a live stream after this. She does mindfulness practices. I'm going to be joining. So if you would like to join us, that's going to be something that might help you connect more with your body. It helps me tremendously after a long day of work. For me over here in Europe, it's already the end of the day. I like to go and connect with my body, practice more mindfulness. But wherever you are, if you want to join me and my wife, Joanna, Margaret, if you could put a link to Joanna's live stream, or if Joanna, if you have that link available, so everyone who wants to join can join, but it'll be more meditative. It won't be an interaction like this, but we will be going through mindfulness practice led by Joanna to help us connect. I'm not sure exactly what the exercise is, but definitely something along the lines of more mindfulness. All right, just finish up here with the questions and with the comments. Desi, I want to propose to my girlfriend. Can anyone tell me the days in the near future with the best energy involved? Yeah, you'd have to really look at the personal chart for that. That's what's best. The collective energies can be important, but then your personal chart might conflict with this personal energy. With the collective energies. So you have collective and personal. They don't always match up. But if we were going by strictly collective, I don't know, maybe you want to wait till Mars is direct. Mars is retrograde right now, but really you got to look at, and Mars will be direct at the end of February, early March. You want to wait for that. But I wouldn't just go by the collective energies. I would go by your personal chart there if you want to use the astrology. But at the end of the day, what's best, Desi. Listen to your inner self. All right, everyone. So we'll go ahead and conclude it here. There's a link to Joanna's mindfulness practice, which I'm going to be heading to here right now after this. I think it starts in about 10 minutes, actually. But thank you, everyone. I'm glad we made the live stream. I'm glad I was able to make it with all the technical difficulties and we didn't lose power or internet. So that's really cool. Have a great one. And I'll see you all next time for the next live stream. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.